Man struggled to grab the ruler. He bit the ruler open with his teeth, then took out a piece of gum and chewed it soft, firmly stuck it to the top of the ruler. Then he extended the ruler into the septic tank. As the phone inside lit up, hope suddenly sparked in his heart. He hurried to try unlocking the phone, but the ruler was too soft. He couldn't control it precisely with just one hand. He failed 3 times in a row to unlock it, which caused the phone to be locked for 1 minute. This made the man feel desperate. Turns out his arm was pierced by a steel bar. If not treated soon, he would eventually die from blood loss. Even worse, in less than an hour, this place was scheduled for demolition. As the chief architect of the project, the man knew once the bomb exploded, not even a trace of him would remain. So the moment that minute passed, he anxiously tried unlocking the phone again. But the more rushed he was, the more mistakes he made. The gum ended up sticking directly onto the phone. The man cursed under his breath, reminding himself to stay calm. There was only one piece of gum left. If he failed again, it would all be over. So this time he was extra cautious. Fortunately, nothing went wrong. The phone successfully unlocked. The man was overjoyed. Immediately tried calling his wife, but his hand slipped, and the call accidentally went to his brother. Still, this turned out to be a good thing, because his brother was holding a press conference nearby, and could arrive faster for the rescue. Once the call connected, the man quickly told his brother his location and situation, begging him to come as fast as possible. After hearing this, the brother first asked if the man had called the police. When he found out he hadn't, he said he'd be right there. Not long after, the man heard the sound of his brother's car. He shouted for help, and kept banging on the cabinet, trying to get his brother's attention, but he never imagined his brother didn't save him. Instead, covered the toilet with a green screen, completely blocking the view from outside. The man couldn't understand why his brother did that, and was instantly gripped by fear. After a while, he gradually calmed down, thinking if his brother couldn't be trusted, then the police might be his only hope. So he dialed 911, but just as the call connected, before he could speak, the signal suddenly dropped. He frantically tapped the phone, but accidentally knocked it over. The man was completely hopeless. In this situation, he had no idea what to do. With less than 30 minutes until the explosion, he decided to give up struggling, hung his watch beside him, and waited for death. Just then, he suddenly noticed a toolbox jammed by the toilet. He clearly remembered there was a knife inside, so he endured the pain, slowly twisted his body. The steel bar in his arm scraped against bone and flesh. The searing pain nearly knocked him out. Driven by his desire to survive, he kept going, trying hard to stretch his foot under the toilet. Then with a roar, he yanked the toilet off. Who knows how long had passed? The man woke from unconsciousness, quickly tied his arm with a necktie to stop the bleeding for now, then opened the toolbox, found the knife, and tried to grind open the toilet lock. After a few rubs back and forth, he reached out to feel, and found a small notch on the lock. That meant the plan was working, so he increased the grinding speed. Then with a crisp snap, the lock broke open. He pushed the toilet door with his foot, slowly moved the green screen aside, then jammed the ruler into the door gap. Next, he took off his pants, wrapped them around a tool hammer, then lit it with a lighter, and made a simple torch. Right after that, he tossed the torch through the door gap, hoping the thick smoke from the fire would alert people at the press conference, but he quickly realized something was wrong. The torch landed too close to the toilet. The smoke was all blowing back inside. If this kept up, he'd suffocate before anyone noticed. Helplessly, the man scooped sewage with a hard hat, and extinguished the fire of hope with his own hands. There were less than 10 minutes left before the blast. He had to find another way out. Just then, he noticed something outside. He quickly peeked through a hole in the wall, and saw a rabbit, with the detonator just a short distance in front of it. A bold idea flashed in his mind. He pulled a carrot from the toolbox, and tossed it near the detonator, trying to lure the rabbit to bite the detonation wire. It almost worked, but the man got too excited, and scared the rabbit away. Still, he didn't give up. After closely observing the terrain, he quickly came up with a new idea. He cracked open the light. 2 minutes remained before the blast. With no time to think, he endured the pain, and used all his strength to kick off the water pipe in front of him, then propped the broken pipe against the toilet door, to open it as wide as possible. After all that, he used all his might, and threw out his only remaining shoe. It was his final hope. If this failed, he'd have no choice but to die. Thankfully luck was on his side. The shoe hit the button. Sparks flew everywhere. The man was overwhelmed with excitement, and began celebrating. But suddenly an alarm sounded around him. He looked outside in panic, and saw the detonator flashing red. He turned back, and the countdown showed only 20 seconds. The man didn't know if the detonator was broken, so he made up his mind, picked up the knife and prepared to cut off his arm. Just as he was about to act, he heard his brother's voice. The man let out a huge sigh of relief, grateful to still be alive. After a while, the bomb expert arrived to check. The man quickly shouted for help. The expert was shocked by the scene, and fired a flare for backup. But just when the man thought he'd be saved, his brother appeared behind the expert, and struck him down. That moment triggered the man's lost memories. He finally remembered the one who caused all this was his so-called best friend. Before he could react, he saw his brother use an encrypted card to reboot the detonator. The man was terrified, and begged his brother to let him go. But the brother walked away without a word. No matter how the man cried out, he got no reply. Luckily, the expert regained consciousness. He told the man not to worry. The reactivated detonator needed time to charge. He could try disarming it, but just as he finished speaking, the brother's voice rang out again. He told reporters, though the main explosion would be delayed, he'd set off a small charge for effect. The man panicked, reached out to pull the expert into the toilet, but it was too late. The man survived thanks to the toilet's cover, but the expert was killed. Even worse, the toilet was sealed with rubble, cutting off any escape. Just as the man was giving up, he spotted a headphone wire. He reached out and pulled, and got the phone from the tank. He quickly tried calling 911, but broke down. The phone still had no signal. Now he was truly hopeless. He struggled to sit up, ready to write a farewell note to his wife, but then noticed the steel bar in his arm had snapped in the explosion. Hope reignited in his eyes. He squeezed out hand soap, rubbed it on the steel bar, then bit down hard on the wooden ruler, and with gritted teeth, pulled the steel out of his arm. But he didn't celebrate, because he heard sounds outside. The final demolition was starting in 2 minutes. Just then, he found a note. When he opened it, it turned out to be the demolition blueprint. After careful calculation and comparison, he realized the main line ran under the toilet. So he grabbed the hammer and began digging, and actually found the main wire. With time running out, he didn't hesitate, grabbed the cable and shoved it in his mouth, then closed his eyes and bit down hard. It was a desperate gamble, but the man won. Meanwhile, his brother noticed the bomb hadn't gone off, and told reporters it was likely due to a signal blocker. Once it was off, things would work. The man heard this, and checked his phone. Once the signal came back, he immediately called the police, and gave them his location, and reported his brother's crimes. Soon, he heard the sound of an excavator outside. Once the debris was cleared, he reached out to test the door, and was instantly bathed in warm sunlight. After everything he went through, he was finally saved.